Hey everyone, let's have a quick October wrap up because I didn't read that much. I put up a reading vlog or a weekend vlog where I talk about some things I was reading in the beginning of the month and a letter to October. The only other video I uploaded was my review of The Watchmaker, Filigree Street, basically me hating on the book. I thought this would be an exciting steampunk fantasy, fun, fast read, but it was dragging. I didn't really get what it wanted to tell me, to be honest. I didn't like the characters. There were two characters I liked, the two main characters, but the whole story was a little bit, the female character was kind of awful. The story is set in the 1880s and it's following this young clerk from the Home Office who somehow gets trapped in a bombing and then gets caught up with this watchmaker who's a suspect of being responsible for the bombing. And for some reason, this Home Office telegraphy clerk needs to go and investigate him or so. And there's the one interesting thing is the relationship between the Home Office clerk and the watchmaker. That's the interesting part of the novel. Everything else is kind of it feels a lot off. There is also a female character who's very smart and gets entangled with those two and the whole story about the bombing, but a lot of things just feel loose. And I have talked about this enough now. Watch my video for more concise thoughts. I definitely cannot recommend this book at all. Another book that took me a long time to finish is The Book of M. I listened to this on audiobook and I really was invested in the beginning. I liked the story. It's all about people losing their shadows, and with their shadows, their memories disappear. So the longer they are without a shadow, the more they can't remember until they can't remember themselves, or breathing and eating and all the basic things. But there's also more around it connected to how the forgetting can affect reality and the impact it can have on that. Those parts were really, really interesting. But as the story dragged on, I cannot say anything else, it really lost momentum, and I don't know where it wanted to go because we don't have any source for the forgetting. We don't know why the shadows disappeared. We don't know what happened. We are left at the end with people still surviving and trying to make a living and come back and restart society or civilization or something. And it's kind of a little bit open-ended and so I liked the idea. I liked a lot of the writing and the suspense and the characters, but overall, I'm left a little bit. What was it? I also listened to a nonfiction book, which was good and weird. I listened to Effortless, and I had this on my wish list for a while, and I thought, end of the month, I'm a little overwhelmed. Let's try and see if this has some good ideas and tips on how to deal with all the stress I'm dealing with right now, or rather not dealing well with. And I started listening, and immediately a lot of the things sounded familiar. The tips and tricks he talks about in the book are good. It's not that I didn't like the audiobook. It's not that I didn't like the book. I just felt I've heard that before. At some point, I was actually wondering if I had listened to the book before, but I can't find any reference of that, so I mustn't have. But a lot of the ideas that he talks about to make life effortless and tasks effortless or simpler, basically, I have heard about and I've been using already, or I know how to use. I tend to forget things I know when it comes to tools and making life easier, but it was a nice reminder overall. And I think if you are not familiar with any of the things that he talks about, it's a really good book. I just don't know where I've heard all of the things before. It's confusing, but I can recommend this if you really get stuck with making things harder than they should be, or feel that there must be an easier way to things. This is a good way to start and get ideas on how to change or switch up things. The last book I finished was a novella, The Emperor's Soul. And this is basically the start of me giving Brandon Sanderson a try. I've always avoided him. He's been around ever since I started on BookTube and everybody loves him, and I always thought he's not for me. So this month, with all of the stress going on and me really needing some escapism, and what's better for escapism than fantasy, I thought, maybe I'll give it a try. So someone suggested using a short story, so I started The Emperor's Soul, and I enjoyed it. The writing was actually a lot better than I had expected. The story flowed. I was really invested in the characters. I liked the magic and the things that happened. Have I told you what happened? It's somewhere where the king was assassinated, but they could fix his body, but his mind isn't there, so they need someone to restore his personality. So it's a lot of looking at what makes a person, what makes an identity, and how to put that together. And there are also some political thoughts about that. Who can control that person? How can you influence that by building an identity for a king and the changes there? There's also some touch on art. Can you destroy art? If the artist wants it, or should it be kept for eternity? Things like that. There were a lot of interesting topics touched upon. And now I'm currently reading Elantris, which is why I haven't finished anything else. That's a 500-page book, 600-page book. I'm a third in all or something, and I'm enjoying it, although there's a lot less magic there right now, and it's a lot more political stuff, feeling a little bit like a how to overturn a government with religion and using fanatics for that. Interesting. But that was it. That was all I finished in October. Like I said, not much reading was finished, but I had a sort of okay month. I had good things and bad things. I was busy with other things. Work is taking over my life for another 2 weeks, and then that's the last deadline for the year, and then I can hopefully relax a little bit and read more. Thank you all for watching. Let me know in comments how your October went. Did you read something cool? Did you read something bad? Did you read any of the things I talked about? Let's talk in comments.